The second I pop up, Ben, good Lord, talk about timing, brother. Thank you very much, Ben. Hey, everybody, I'm Michael Noland. This is The Bottom Line. I'm your friendly neighborhood tribal chieftain who can't seem to manage his volume controls on devices sometimes. Tonight, we're going to be talking about uh, Uriah Heep, the band that everybody took note of, especially Led Zeppelin, Deep Purple, and Black Sabbath. So that's the subject up for tonight. And after that, I'm going to be going on to Royce's house. I see out there in the chat there, brother. As a matter of fact, we're going to be bringing you up. Ben Scheidecker says, Happy June Day. Thank you, Ben. I appreciate that. Deuce is Wild is in with a $20 super thanks. You know, all of this is going to enter into the discussion tonight. And if we don't get all the way through, Uriah Heep tonight, this could very well be a continuing um, uh, stream for a future stream. All right. Deuces Wild says Ken Hensley, Mick Box, Gary Thane, David Byron, and Lee Kerslake. A line, a lineup for the ages. The unofficial fourth in the British Big Four, along with Zeppelin, Sabbath, and Purple, hard rock, progressive, proto metal gods. It's just freaking, well, I'll say freaking. He didn't say freaking, but it's awesome, he says. I couldn't agree. That comment, good Lord, this is a perfect comment. That's me all over when we're talking about Uriah Heep, Deuce. All right. You talk about my favorite lineup. You know, it's kind of like Yes. You know, I love various lineups in Yes, but my favorite lineup when you're talking about the prog rock band Yes has to be John Anderson, of course, Chris Squire. You've got Steve Howe on guitar, Rick Wakeman on keyboards, and Bill Bruford on drums. Now, I love Alan White, but Bill Bruford had a swing that I kind of liked and missed once he left the band. All right, so you're spot on as far as the best lineup of this band, as far as I'm humbly concerned, you know. But also the whole idea of it being part of the Big Four. I'm going to tell you, and I've always seen them as part of the Big Four. They're in the fourth spot. There's no doubt about that. But they're number four and always have been for me. And we're going to talk about how I even discovered these guys. But before we get on to that, I do want to announce that, and some of my tribal members will already know this because this is on a 40-minute video on my members' videos. And Terry Draper, drummer and songwriter, he co-wrote two of their songs. One of them, their biggest song, Calling Occupants of Interplanetary Craft for Klaatu, has passed away. Evidently, he passed away sometime in mid-May, and it's already next month. Amazing. And anyway, I have a special video on my members' videos where Rachel Williams and I had the opportunity to sit down with Terry. I got to know him. I had correspondence with the man, setting up that interview. And even after that interview, I considered him a friend. And all I can say is rest in peace, Terry Draper of Canada's very best band, in my opinion, Klaatu. All right. Okay, so that gets us to shout outs. Now, I want you guys to keep in mind, the shout outs, what's this all about? If you haven't ever been here before, I always shout out those who send us super thanks on the last stream, right? For example, the two super thanks you see tonight, they not only got their shout out tonight, but on my next stream, I will read those off like I usually do. Now, keep in mind, I have done this from the very start, since I started streaming back in late January, January 18th, mid January, actually. It's a long month, right? And nothing has ever changed. This is my way of saying thank you for the extra. I always bring out that it's you, the viewers, that I'm most appreciative of, even over the super thanks. And everybody who gives a super thanks knows that, right? Without you guys, there would be no me, right? Okay, so you're number one. Number two would be the people who are my viewers and give me a thumbs up because that sends the stream to a wider audience. And if we get enough thumbs up in a stream while I'm still streaming, it could flicker out while the stream is happening. So those are the ones that I hold most dear. I always have on this channel. But for those who can go the extra distance and are financially supporting this channel, I'm always going to shout them out. And last stream, we had Ben Scheidecker come in with $2 super thanks, one after another, just one following right after another. I've talked about the power of two, folks. Don't be shy if you see somebody give a 50. We've gotten larger than that in the past. And say, oh, well, that doesn't count. My $2 won't. They mount up quickly. All right. We always say the power of two. Now, Bill Hawkins followed him up with a $20 super thanks, as did Deuces Wild. Not only did he follow up Bill Hawkins with a $20 super thanks, but I guess we were talking about the power of two. He immediately followed it up with a $2 super thanks, as did Storm Cop. Thank you, James. And Nethead. See how they start to mount up, folks. And I appreciate the $2 as much as I appreciate a $50 donation. And give what you can, folks. That's all I can say. If the nature grabs you, other than that, everything's free. Following them, we had two more super thanks. Ben Scheidecker again. See, he had just given us $2 super thanks. He had followed that up with a $10 super thanks, as did Michael Boswell. $10. Thank you, Michael. Thank you, Ben. Thank you, all of you. Now, I want to go over to some of the chat. Now, not tonight's chat. I've been reading you guys. God, the thing's just ticking away in there. I don't know if I'll get to any of you tonight, but good Lord, you guys are on fire. But last night, see, I always try to give a heads up. I usually put out so that you're notified at least 24 hours in advance. And we always get early birds here. I see that. I'm going to get on over there. I always stop the stream to acknowledge a super thanks, folks. Another thing I have never changed. I want you to keep all of this in mind. This is important. The power of two, says Agent Pepsi. Love the music history. Yeah, me too, brother. Or sister. Are you sister? But Agent Pepsi, I seem to remember you might be one of our sisters. I'm not sure. Let me know. Let me know. Let me know if you see a response from Agent Pepsi. Okay, Kimberly? Yeah. That's my lovely wife who is producing tonight's show. Oh, right? You. And typing in and keeping you guys company as I open my big mouth, right? I couldn't do this without her. Thank you, darling. I appreciate it. Agent Pepsi one is a girl. Yes. Okay. See, somewhere in my collective conscience, Agent, you know? All right. Good. And thank you so much. Okay, so that gets me back to some of these comments. Now, this is all leading up to something. And I want you to keep in mind, I'm doing exactly what I've done many times on this show. I sometimes take a screenshot of yesterday's comments because I know once yesterday hits midnight, those get wiped off and it resets for a brand new set of engagements, right? So often I'll take a screenshot because especially if it has to do with tonight's um, stream, and I think it's germane to what we're covering. So now I'm going to make a point while we start to cover uh, um, the band, I should say. I'm having one of those moments, darling. Uriah Heep. Okay. I don't know why I was having trouble coming up with that. It's because of all these super things. That's why it's your guys' fault. Let me see what we got here. Richie C. Oh man, Richie C. You've been with me a while now, brother. Thank you so much. A $5 super thanks. And Richie C says, let me give you a thumbs up here. I keep forgetting I can do that on Kimberly's iPad. Love the Return to Fantasy album, the song Shady Lady Rocks. I just heard that today. I like that one. I agree with you, Richie. And it's good to see you in the comments, brother. Thank you so much. All right, so back to these comments I was covering from yesterday. Doc Insomnia. Erg is split and Loudover. Oh my goodness, thank you so much. Oh goodness gracious, thank you. Oh my goodness, Deuce is wild. Deuce is wild. Okay. Oh my God, peace. Oh my goodness, Paul, thank you so much. Goodness. Right. Oh, this is wonderful. This is wonderful. And from what I remember, that's a nice one, Paul. Thank you so much. Let me cover these. Irga Splitten, shout out to the mullet of destiny. Brother. Dear Jam, you know how to jam me up, don't you? The mullet of destiny. I don't have a mullet. It's all one length. I just plop it there, hairspray, man. But anyway, if it looks like a mullet, it walks like. I know where you're coming from, brother. Deuces Wild, going to be another rockin' stream. The power of two, absolutely. Paul follows suit with, and I'm not sure. Royce is more. It's a South American dinero, is what Royce said, with 10,000 dinero. All right. Thank you so much, Paul. Paul's also in the past bought, channel members for both Royce and I. We're very appreciative of that. Both Royce and I are trying to get our memberships up. I've really kicked into high gear, providing members only videos and keeping up with what I need to do here on the regular channel. My goodness. So thank you very much. Just gave us a super thing, so thank you. Oh my goodness, I see that. I'll get to you, James. I just wanted to say thank you to Paul. All right, good. I got you all. And Storm Cop in with $10. Hi, I'm Storm Cop, and I'm addicted to the tribe. The tribe. Oh man, I even almost had the inflection down, didn't I, James? Hi, I'm Storm Cop, and I'm addicted. Oh, I love it. I love it. Thank you, brother. I appreciate it. So this comment with Doc Insomnia, he says, looks like I'm going to have to do some research. Haven't listened much to Uriah Heep since I had satellite radio. Got 29 hours to complete my homework assignment. And I heard, I've been reading you guys. You all saying you've done homework on this. So this is going to have to be another stream. And I'll tell you, before I could have even done it, I'm going to, what do you think about tomorrow night, darling, at 5 o'clock to continue this? Is that a thing? If you want. Yes. She goes, hey. All right, because you guys have more than purchased this, and we do have a bit of channel business here. We'll get into this. We'll have plenty of time to start discussing that. But this is a bigger subject than I normally cover on a Sunday night, and especially with some of the stuff that's coming in here. So anyway, then he goes on. Paul should not be allowed to die. Guy says, I saw Uriah Heep in Vancouver during the '70s on Halloween night, and the people in the row in front of me were passing a lit sparkler from left to right. And just after this guy passed it to his girlfriend, a blue-coated usher grabbed the guy's girlfriend to kick her out. She looked at her boyfriend with bewilderment, and he gave her a peck on the cheek and says, see you later, honey, and just stares ahead, watching the band and clapping as if he came to the concert alone. I have a similar story. When I saw Paul McCartney, my wife got ill, and I actually let her go to the bathroom on her own while I stayed up and watched him do yesterday, to my shame. But I was a young man. So anyway, and then we get a comment from Tim. Now, why am I bringing these up? Well, first of all, they're great comments about Uriah Heep, right? But also, I clicked on the community leaderboard. This is the thing you're all asking about. All right. And the reason I've led up to this is so that you guys have a better understanding of what it's all about. This is the community leaderboard as of last night. And dig this. I am the Paul should never die guy, number one. And of course, I just read several. That entire statement was several comments because you run out of period, and so you just kind of include it, right? I've had to do that in the past too. My White Monkey made a comment there. He was number two. Ben Scheidegger was at number three. Mark Hamilton, Dr. Insomnia, and Timothy Henry all tied for number fourth space. So Doc didn't get any extra points for being the first in, right? But it was the amount of um, uh, comments, obviously, that he made.
Rockin' Robin came in, hon.
Did she?
Oh, thank you so much, Rockin'
Thank you, darling. Oh, I love this. Love the tribe. That's all she says. And the power of two does it again. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Just gave you a thumbs up.
Oh, so sweet.
So now that leads me to now keep in mind everything that I just covered. What did I do? I gave shout outs and I covered some comments, which I've done from the very beginning, right? Now let's go to the comments tonight. I'm just going to pick the first. Doc Insomnia is the one that came up. I'm going to click his little crown there that says number one. Looks blue on the iPad. I don't know what color it's coming off on your source. All right. And it'll click you automatically to the community leaderboard. Right now, it is tracking 40 of you. All right, 40 of you, and I'll just cover the top. Well, we'll cover the top 10. All right. At number one, Doctor Insomnia. Number two, Ben Shapiro. Number three, Storm Cop. Number four, Brandon 1351. Number five, Divining Dragon. How you doing, Christian? Number six, I am the Paul guy, or Paul should never die guy, right? So he was number one as of midnight last night, and he's dropped to number six because he had a bigger portion of what's going on. We're going to talk this all throughout here so you know what's going on. At number seven, Timothy came in, Beast LVX at 8, CRFC 321 at 9, and Douglas at number 10. It doesn't have your whole name here, Douglas, or I'd repeat it. All right, now, keep this in mind. If you notice on the community leaderboard, click that question mark sign, and it'll explain exactly what it is. It says, what's the leaderboard? A place for fans to stand out in the community. The top three get special badges in live chat. It resets every stream so you can always try again. In other words, nobody can get to 350,000 points and you're stuck at 320 points and you'll never catch up. It resets every stream. I thought that was kind of cool. It says you'll need to collect experience points to get on the board, or XP, X experience points, P points, right? And here's how you get them. Send in live chats. And here's the bugaboo that I think it was Christian in our last stream, and he had a good point. Send super chats and super stickers. Okay. Now I've done the math, and it looks like you get about 25 points per comment to get on this leaderboard, right? And I'm seeing right now to get 50 points, you can send in a super thanks. Now that's like 2 comments. So I understood.
Storm Cop just came in with another super.
Oh, thank you so much, James. I'll get to you in a second because I want to finish this point because this has a lot to do with you too. Is now that means, yes, if you give a super thanks, you're going to get twice as much as if you did a comment. And why not? You gave a couple of bucks plus, you probably made a comment. So bucks comment, and the bucks didn't cost, you didn't make anything more for giving that super thanks, right? So the community board, as I'm seeing it right now, seems to reflect the nature of the channel, but I am going to want to hear from you folks because this is a tribe. And if enough of you find this wrong, certainly if the majority of you find this wrong somehow, then I think I have figured a way that I can discontinue this, right? But to me, it's like having a bean counter on exactly what I've been doing all along. It's shouting out super thanks and it's shouting out comments, which has been what this entire channel has been about from the beginning. So I'm going to keep it for a week or two, right? I want to hear from you. I want to see how it goes, right? I don't want a whole ton of bad feelings about this, but really, it to me, unless you guys can come up with something I'm not seeing here, this seems to reflect the nature of the channel pretty damn well. All right, so that gets us to the subject at hand, Uriah Heep. Now, the best way to describe Uriah Heep for me is to tell you guys how I discovered him. I had just seen Queen at Winterland, and I've told this story before. The next day, I went in to my local record store and I bought Queen 2. I was so amazed with them. And there's a few bands that I've done that. I've seen them first and went, I got to go get their album right away. Joe Walsh and Barnstorm was one. Montrose was another. You just see them, you go, man, I didn't know they were even playing tonight. Maybe they were the opening band or whatever. And you go out and get that record. So I went out to get Queen 2. Now think about record store layouts, folks. Queen, Q, RSTU ain't too far away from Queen, right? Well, guess what? I picked up this album cover and I just couldn't resist it. You know, it's like that famous Carol Burnett episode when she comes in, they're doing this spoof on Gone with the Wind, and she's wearing drapes. And he goes, "What a fetching gowns." And she goes, "Well, thank you. I just saw it in the window and had to have it," right? So it was like one of those album covers for me. And let me see if I can find it here to share with you, just to make sure we're all on the same page. Here it is. This is the album cover that was facing me when I went to go pick up Queen 2. Demons and Wizards by Uriah Heep. Now, I've only done this a couple of times in my life. Another one that comes to mind is a prog rock band called Starcastle, had a great album cover, and I bought it just on the album cover alone. And many of you know, I am a Roger Dean fan. And Roger Dean not only did this album cover for Uriah Heep, let's see, but he also did The Magician's Birthday for Uriah Heep, right? And I immediately bought that, both of those when they were available, and went back and bought previous albums by them. Now, let me make sure I've got this the right way. I think it's in this order. I just want to make sure. Yeah, that's for that. Okay. So when I went to look for previous albums, because I was a fan, I remember I bought the damn album because of the cool album cover. So guilty as charged. But then I listened to it and it was like freaking amazing, right? I was already a Zeppelin. I was already a Black Sabbath fan, right? I was already a Deep Purple fan. And it was like, I have found the fourth when I listened to especially these first two albums and then going back to get their other albums. Now, when I went to go get what would have been our first album here in the States, uh, which was entitled in England, Very Heavy, Very Humble. Okay. And that's the album cover. I'm not sure I would have been that attracted to that. But here in the States, and with a slightly different list, if we go into discographies and stuff heavily tomorrow, we'll go ahead and talk about that. But here's the album cover we got. And it wasn't called Very Heavy, Very Humble. It was called Uriah Heep. Now, this wasn't too far off the beaten path from a Roger Dean kind of cover. I mean, it's not his style at all. It's all kind of black and white, right? but at least it was fantasy based and everything else. Then I went to go get their Salisbury album after that, and this is the album that you guys in the UK received, Salisbury, right? And to tell you the truth, I don't think I would have been all that crazy about it's a nice picture and all of that. I don't think I would have been that crazy about it any more than I was at first crazy about the Paranoid album by Black Sabbath, the cover, not the album. The album's great. But I thought it looked chintzy and I thought, well, this is kind of chintzy, you know. I don't know. I don't like album covers that has current technology. If there's technology from the past to make an artistic statement. And you go, yeah, but in 10 years, Michael, this will be an artistic statement. You're right. But you got to realize I was 17 at the time and this didn't ring my chimes. But, I didn't have to worry about it too much because that's not the way it came in the United States. The way it came in the United States was like this: Uriah Heep, Salisbury. I love this cover. I love the coloring. I love the burnt charcoal like drawing, a human like figure with, I love the whole thing. It really sings to me. So those are the albums I grabbed when I started catching up on their discography. Now, nobody else in my group knew about them. And I got to tell you, it was a real hard sell to get anybody really excited about listening to Uriah Heep. You know, uh, these days, Uriah Heep consists of Mick Box. Matter of fact, I was just watching my favorite lineup. Aren't they all dead but him? You've got David Byron, who passed away at 38 due to primarily alcoholism, but it went beyond that, right? Ken Hensley and Lee Kerslake, did they not die in 2019 together? Or not together, but like within months of each other, right? And Gary Thane, he's one of the 27 club members. He died at 27, right? So, but currently, Uriah Heep is touring. They actually have 25 albums out. All right, now we're not going to get into 25 not in this short period of time. There's no way. We're going to cover a few albums and some songs on the list and everything like that as I can get into it. What I can't cover, we'll cover tomorrow night. But basically, he's out there touring. Now, I've seen some really nice videos of the band. They sound great. And I wouldn't mind if they were a nice ticket price to go see them just to hear Uriah Heep music again. I wouldn't be seeing Uriah Heep, in my opinion, not with just Mick Box being there, right? And that's another question. When did Uriah Heep truly become Uriah Heep, and when did they cease to become Uriah Heep, or did they and still are uh, Uriah Heep to this day? There is no cessation date. There's many fans that follow him to this very day. Maybe some of you that are watching this right now are some of those fans. For me, I kind of, yeah, I want to get into that in a minute. First of all, you got to understand, where did this band come from? I forget the first name of the band, but basically a guy named David Garrick and Mick Box started this band that eventually became, for a moment, the band Hogwash, then quickly changed to Spice. And at the very last minute, because in 1969, when they changed the name of the band, it was the 100th anniversary of Dickens' death. So they decided to take a character out of David Copperfield, Uriah Heep, as a band name. Really smart because, Dickens in those days was quite the Dickens. People, sorry about that, folks, but he was very in vogue. Real smart move. I didn't know when I bought them. I hadn't read Dickens yet. You know, I was too busy still reading comic books. Oh, I love them. I absolutely love them. But I haven't read him yet. I hadn't even watched. I don't think maybe a couple movies by him, but I wasn't aware it was a Dickens movie at the time, you know. So, but a very smart move on their part. Now, as they got together, of course, Ken Hensley got in there. First of all, you got to understand the band. And by the way, this David Garrick became David Byron. He named himself after Lord Byron. All right, because there was another David Garrick in the music industry. So now you have David Byron, and you got Mick Box, and they're just looking for a triad to get an idea off. And they're thinking both Mick Box and David are saying, it'd be cool if we could add some keyboards. They're hearing keyboards in their music at this point. They didn't have that yet. And they were influenced by Vanilla Fudge. They wanted that Vanilla Fudge type of thing, right? And so for that first album, Ken Hensley, he comes in at the very last minute. Matter of fact, a couple of the tracks on that first album were recorded by a studio keyboardist. I forget his name, but basically they found him. And so you had his instrumentation, if not his writing skills. It wasn't too long before they found out that Ken Hensley was quite the writer, especially when it came to lyrics and things like that. And he wrote the bulk of their songs or was a co writer. So he either wrote or was a co writer, the vast bulk of Uriah Heep's songs over the years. All right. So he was like he was their secret weapon, right? So now they had these three. And by the time we got Demons and Wizards, we had the full, what I consider the classic rock lineup. And who was it that brought it up? Was it you, Deuce, that brought up that this was your favorite? Your thing skipped on through. There's been so many comments tonight that this was their best lineup, and I agree. When you're talking about the lineup of David Byron, Mick Box, Gary Thane, Lee Kerslake, and Ken Hensley, that's my Uriah Heep. Just like Mark II of Deep Purple is my Deep Purple, even though I really like Marks 3 and 4. Okay, a whole lot for different reasons. But that's my home base is Mark III, Deep Purple, and this lineup of them is like my favorite, right? So anyway, when they continued to do that, so 72 is when everything kind of falls into place here for them. And it's probably late 72 that I'm picking them up. I don't think it was 73 when I discovered them. That would have been made me about 18. But it's kind of hard. It's within a year or two there. And I got to tell you, it was like a breath of fresh air for me when I heard these albums. Now, there was an article that I kind of wanted to cover here. See if I can find that thing. From you, I think it was a UCR article. All right, yeah, it is. And they're talking about the top 10 Uriah Heep songs. And I want to see if you guys agree with this. Too Scared to Run from the Abominog album. Now, I wasn't very aware, and we're going to talk about that. Well, as a matter of fact, we'll talk about it right now. For me, I started losing interest in Uriah Heep with this album, my latest procurement, right there. All right, Wonderworld. I got this one when I saw it, and listening to it for the first time in years. I owned this one back in the day, and this was the last. I know it's backwards, folks, and I'm sorry about that, but this is the last one by Uriah Heep that I actually went out and bought. And of course, this was the second album that I ever bought, The Magician's Birthday. And I got them both used. First pressing's real nice and in decent shape. They're a decent listening. There's some crackling on Wonder World, but as soon as the band kicks in, you don't hear it, and it almost sounds so damn familiar. You don't care either, especially with this band. Okay, so for me, it's everything from the Uriah Heep album, or very heavy, very humble album, through Wonder World was the last one I bought, but the one after that I like too, and we'll talk about that when it comes up because it had some good stuff. But you got to understand when Wonder World came out. When I first discovered them, I was still living at home. I was still a teenager. I was still a minor. And by the time Wonder World came out, I was already married and had been for about a year and a half. So my whole approach to life was much more serious then, right? And I loved that Wonder World album cover. I think that's wonderful. I always had wished that they had stayed with the Roger Dean kind of concept. I was always frustrating. They were always past Wonderworld, and many will say Wonderworld was guilty of exactly this. And it was that they were reinventing. They were not sticking with the original plan as far as what they wanted to write anymore. They were opening themselves to more pop, accessible writing with some of the criticism drawn to them. But when you have Uriah Heep, or very heavy, very humble, and you have Salisbury, and you have Demons and Wizards, and you have especially these four, the Magician's Birthday, and Wonderworld's fine with me. What's the other one? Easy. Oh God, I'm not going to think of it. Look at Yourself was great, yeah, and as a matter of fact, wasn't Return to Fantasy. That wasn't the one. Uh, Yeah. Okay. But those are my key albums, and that's fine because if you think about it, uh, the Police, which is one of my top bands of all time, only have 5 albums, right? So for them to come off with this many albums, and I'm giving them a re-listening, and we'll have now a little bit more time to re-listen a little bit more before our next stream, and I'm reassessing the entire band. That's why I got this album because I was disappointed in it at the time. I just wasn't, even though they put out a couple of great songs that I heard on the radio, and it was like, but not enough to go back to them. I was no longer a teen, and it seemed like they were kind of almost selling out. I liked the more fantasy based approach to the band, if truth be known. So at number 10, they say Too Scared to Run from the Abominog album. Number 9, July Morning. What a beautiful song that is. For the Look at Yourself album. Another one I didn't get, but I been listening to it. I love this album. Sweet Lorraine from The Magician's Birthday at number 8. Number 7, Tears in My Eyes from Look at Yourself. Return to Fantasy from Return to Fantasy. Is that the one? Return to Fantasy, band's career, but it proves something of a. Nope, not necessarily. Okay, and then Sunrise, one of my favorite songs by Uriah Heep from The Magician's Birthday. Easy Living, great. Demons and Wizards. And Gypsy from Very Heavy, Very Humble. And Birds of Prey from Salisbury at number 2. And finally at number 1, Look at Yourself from Look at Yourself. All right. All pretty damn. There's one of these cuts that's from. Was it Robert Ludden that replaced David Byron? See, that's when I lost total interest. I wasn't going to do it. I saw him singing. He had a great voice. He had a great voice. A lot of critics will say he actually had the better voice between him and David Byron. He had a blues background that David didn't quite have, and everything. So it's quite interesting as to whether or not. I'm trying to get back over here on the channel. Your thing is freezing up again, darling. It shut me down.
I know that thing
Yeah.
is mad.
But part of the problem was the first time I saw him, and they had a couple of great hits when he first came out. I just couldn't get past See, I was a young man. I was 21, 22 when all that started, 23. I forget, right? 21, uh, by the time I'd lost interest in them, right? And I'd see them perform. And to me, he just looked goofy. He had the glitter eyes, never liked that kind of look to begin with. Wasn't he didn't have the David Byron presence, you know. I mean, David Byron, I tried to look up his height. You can't find it. You can't find Mick boxes. But if you look at them, they're wearing subatomic platform shoes. There's a Klaatu reference for you. But, on stage a lot. It was the thing back in the day, right? And you can tell they're both short little bastards, but you never really understood that the way they spread themselves out, or was aware of that, I should say, the way they spread themselves out well on stage. With the two tallest members being behind a kit or behind a keyboard or sitting on a stool playing acoustic guitar often, they kept a visual uh, delight to behold the band. They all looked good, and nobody looked extremely short or goofy or anything like that. And of course, David Byron, he had the looks, he had the voice, he had the sass, he was the wink to the audience for the band. There is no freaking doubt about it. And it's sad that his life took such a nosedive, because he really was. I wouldn't consider him. He might make top 20 vocalist, but he'd be close to number 20. And if he didn't, he'd be in the top 30 vocalists for me. He's good. He's really that good. He's not, people say, well, Robin was so much better. No. I mean, he is. I can hear that. It's kind of like comparing, Sammy Hagar to, Van Halen's, original singer. And you go, well, Sammy's the better singer. Yeah, but David Lee Roth has got, like, he's got that sass and everything. That's the thing. David Byron had rock star oozing out of him. There was no freaking doubt about it. And here's another thing. I was just telling this to Kimberly today, that I all of a sudden realized, if you listen to a whole lot of Uriah Heep, I can guarantee you one thing: you're going to start hearing a lot of falsettos. And this is another thing. See, Byron had a great range, but he was no Robert Plant. He purposefully used falsetto, as did Ken Hensley, right? And other members of the band, slipping into almost a heavy metal falsetto group sound before the Bee Gees did it with disco. Think about that. Often you have falsetto upon falsetto upon falsetto, harmonies going and everything. And I hadn't been aware of that when I was a kid, but when I was a kid, uh, there was no disco Bee Gees. The Bee Gees was a whole different thing when I was a kid, and I was a big fan. Actually, the Bee Gees is one of the disco acts that I didn't mind. I like some of their disco hits and everything like that. Not a disco fan in general, but the Bee Gees did it right. As far as disco going and everything, changing direction purposefully and doing that. But here's a band that had developed it right from the beginning. And if you watch a lot, there's tons of videos of David Byron with singing with Uriah Heep on YouTube. I just watched 50 of them in the last couple of days, and the man can slip from natural to falsetto like a silk ribbon. Okay, so that means he's a superior singer to have that much tonal control from real to the surreal. Okay. So that was one thing that I always liked about him, but I never got past a certain amount in the actual discography. Now, out of that top 10 list, I saw some omissions, and maybe you guys did too. What about the wizard? Why isn't the wizard on there? All right, I don't. That very first cut that they mentioned, I would have taken off and put the wizard on it immediately. Rainbow Demon, the spell. The spell is great. Poet's Justice, Blind Eye, one of my ultimate, that's like one of my very favorite Uriah Heep songs. Tales wasn't on that list. The Magician's Birthday, a smorgasbord of a song, right? Not on that list. And one that I wasn't aware of this song in my research, and I'm a fan of this song, Come Away, Melinda. Oh, good Lord. Doesn't sound like Uriah Heep practically, but wow. And that's from Very Heavy, Very Humble. And was Come Away, Melinda on the US version of that or not? I don't know. We'll look at that in just a second here, as a matter of fact. How am I doing on time? I'm doing good. I Won't Mind from Wonder World, side two, second track. Baby, you want slide guitar. One of you were saying, what about Ken Hensley playing a lot of the slide guitar we didn't know he played? And I wasn't aware of that. I figured it's all Mick Box, but are you talking about maybe some acoustic slide guitar, or maybe you know more than I do? But this is blues. If you going, well, I don't know if I could possibly comfortably entertain the thought of listening to Uriah Heep. You might want to listen to this because this is very blues based. This is a nice in if you come from that direction. All right. And Stealing from Sweet Freedom. All right. As a matter of fact, I think that's the cut I was talking about before. Sounded really good, but you know what I'm talking about? Okay, so those are some of those things. Now, we're talking about which one was that? Demon and Wizards. Okay, I thought I had it where I was going to go to, so I go to the internet instead of photos. Yeah, Michael, you're getting old. Any day now. This is a big one, Elizabeth. Okay, let's see now. Wanted to make sure that I had covered everything really, because I had several slides up for you guys and that I wanted to get across here. Yeah, okay, good. I'm glad I hummed and hawed there. All right, so on I think it was, yeah, the Uriah Heep, or Very Heavy, Very Humble. Yeah, the track list for the England was Gypsy, Walking in Your Shadow, Come Away, Melinda, Lucy Blues, Dream Mare. I love that. I had a dream mare. Real Turned On, I'll Keep Trying, Wake Up, Set Your Sights, where the US release, no, yeah, for some reason, I don't remember having it. It's like it didn't stick with me. And I had this album Gypsy, Walking in Your Shadow, Come Away, Melinda, Bird of Prey, which, no, yeah, Bird of Prey actually includes Ken Hensley as a writer. So that's kind of cool. That was in there. And Dream Mare, Real Turned On, I'll Keep Trying, Wake Up, Set Your Sights. Okay. So at this point, Box and Byron still very heavily involved in the writing. Now, when we got to Salisbury, Bird of Prey is on the US, right? Instead of the UK. The Park, Time to Live, Lady in Black, High Priestess, and Salisbury, right? And with the US release, we get High Priestess first, The Park, Time to Live, Lady in Black, Simon the Bullet Freak, Hensley, and Salisbury. So we got different albums by them. And so keep that in mind if you're watching me in the UK going, well, he likes that album, he doesn't like this album. There were different approaches to this. Another one that I never bought for whatever reason was back in the day was Look at Yourself. And I want this out. All right, this was kind of the surprise. This one really hit me. I remember it being in the record store and seeing the mirror, and I didn't get it. The mirror has a piece of foil on it that when you look at it, it distorts your face. That was on purpose. Maybe you don't know yourself, or listening to this music will put you in a dream type thing. It's brilliant. Got to get it. Got to get it. But I never got uh, look at yourself ever while I was originally collecting. All right, so that's kind of my basic opening presentation on all of that. I wanted to get over here and see if I can catch a few of you. I know I will not do you justice tonight, folks. There is no freaking way I can do you justice. I'm going to start with the latest move back. Tiger Rogers, good to see you, brother. Look at yourself, easily the best Heap album. Boy, am I impressed. I don't know how I missed that one. I feel kind of stupid. Oh, and by the way, I made a mistake on my current poll. All right, let's go over there and look at that, and I'll get back to you guys right here in a minute. Um, it was supposed to have, let's see, make sure, there we go. I'm trying to remember. Yeah. Okay, so look at yourself was supposed to be on this list. And if you look at it, Wonderworld is on it twice. That's why I haven't mentioned it, because it's tough to say when you're wrong. And on top of that, it kind of null and voided the poll. Other to say that Demons and Wizard is considered by the vast majority of you as their finest album. That's your favorite album. And the one that comes closest to it, according to this poll, but it didn't have the album to compete with him, was Magician's Birthday. Now, what bodes well for Magician's Birthday, even winding up in second place, is the fact that against its grouping, the Magician's Birthday won even more handily than the Demons and Wizards did in its category, with a whopping 71%. And if truth be known, those are probably, to me, they're they're probably my favorite albums for this, is because they're the first two I got, and it imprinted an image about what Uriah Heep was, even though they didn't carry the album cover artwork tradition on beyond that too much. They played with it too much for me. Matter of fact, that's my biggest criticism post Byron, really post Thane, is that they started losing their direction a little bit. And I know that some of you are going to disagree with me. So I did want to make sure that I brought that up and let you guys know I'm sorry for that. Didn't mean it, but as Forrest Gump said in that movie, shit happens. Storm Cop, hey, please remember to keep this party going by joining at Royce in the House for his live stream right after ours. I promise you, you will not regret it. And I agree with him. As I said at the beginning of the stream tonight, Royce is going to be talking about the band, the group, the trio, those guys who were songwriters and sang real well. America. We're going to be talking about America.
Oh,
Fantastic band.
Just the facts, man.
I saw that, baby.
Oh, thank you so much. Just the facts.
Dan, you're an angel. Are you going to be up with us tonight? Oh, and by the way, oh, yeah, I meant to bring this up before Dan showed up here. I just haven't been in the comments yet, brother. First of all, he gave us $10. Thank you so much, Dan. And it says, week after week, you continue to discuss the bands I grew up with. Thank you. Yeah, Dan and I have, Dan has a background with more heavy metal than I probably do. But him and I we fall right in the middle with a lot of music, don't we, Dan? And by the way, I meant to bring this up at the beginning. I had it in my notes. I must have skipped it. Dan and Royce just got through interviewing Mark Farner. All right. I've seen it in its entirety. It rocked. You both did a fantastic job on it. All right. So you get to hear the straight skinny from Mark Farner by questions posed to him by Dan the man over on Just the Facts, man. That's the channel. You got to go over there, hit that notification bell, join up, and all of that. The video's out. He's got the interview out. They just did this Thursday, so it's a new interview. All right, you guys got to get in there and see this. All right, and you both did a great job, brothers. Both of you did a fantastic job. Let's see. Uh, Douglas Gilbert. See, I just want to make sure I'm not interrupting private conversation. Jorge Pina says the tribe is in the house. Yeah. Well, over on Royce in the house, there's a lot of tribal members, aren't there? It's you almost can't tell us apart anymore. It's like we're twin sisters, aren't we, Royce? You know? Storm Cop 55. I already read that. Okay, I got that. And then I went down to take care of the super things. Stephen Fox, Gary Braun was a key figure in Uriah Heep's career. Yes, he was the manager, right? Producer, made a lot of decisions. Wasn't it Gary? If I've got this right, let me know, Stephen. Not only as a producer, but yes, their producer. Good. But I'll read my comment, Michael, and maybe you'll get what I said. Thank you, Ben. I'm going to get to you in a minute. I saw it flash up there on the screen. Yeah, okay. So Gary Braun was a key figure in Uriah Heep's career, not only as a producer, but also as their manager, yes. And things changed when he passed off on the scene, didn't it? Really quickly. And wasn't he key in the decision to bring on Ken Hensley, as I recall? Right, in discussions to bring a keyboard, which changed the complexion of their sound totally as a band. What they were offering to up at that point, they became a band. And by the way, folks, why are all of us nutcase Uriah Heep fans all gathered around here? I see 83 of you watching right now. Why such an interest? And yet you don't hear hardly any of their music. I don't have Sirius XM or anything like that. So one of you mentioned in the comments, matter of fact, I read it, that you hear them on the satellite radio. That's good news. That's probably the wave of the future. Radio's dead and has been for about 20, 30 years. But for the most part, you never hear Uriah Heep on any station in my local area ever. What a sin. What a sin, right? And as a matter of fact, on my station, you'll hear Horse with No Name occasionally, and on a classic rock station, but you won't hear Uriah Heep, right? Good Lord. Yeah, like I said, what's the best way to get into Uriah Heep? Here it is, folks. Listen to either Demons and Wizards or The Magician's Birthday, because I'm going to tell you, there's songs on Magician's Birthday that are better than some songs on Demons and Wizards, and vice versa. They're like the twin Uriah Heep albums for me. They're like Rubber Soul and Revolver with the Beatles. I've mentioned, man, that's almost impossible to choose between the two, which is better. To me, these two albums are that close. And yet it seems like Demons and Wizards is the one album everybody will vote for, no matter what. I would too, but it would be a reluctant vote for Demons and Wizards over The Magician's Birthday, right? Now, Demons and Wizards got the coolest cover, but The Magician's Birthday ain't half bad, is it? All right. Okay, so we're at 6:01. I need time to cool this place down tonight. And then I'm going to get back and join Royce. I hope to see you, Dan. Nicholas, if you're out there and I didn't cover you, or if Dawson or Chris were in the comments, thank you for supporting me. All right, guys, I didn't get to hardly any of you tonight. Too much information, what's going on with the channel. Remember, I want to hear from you guys regarding the leaderboard. I think we could have fun with it if people don't get their panties in a twist. It really, in my opinion right now, I'm willing for you guys to change my mind. Am I not seeing something about this? But I don't, and I want to thank Christian, by the way, uh, you know, for even bringing that up to Kimberly on our last stream, because that's something we should take a look at. We want to keep this stream real, right? And I don't want to hide behind any gimmicks or anything like that. But this is, to me, you know what this is? This is AI enslaved. I like enslaving AI. I want to master it, tell it what to do, whip it into its place, right? As AI should be, right? And it really is nothing more than a bean counter. And you guys can have fun with it. And if you didn't rank as high as you can, well, next week we'll be talking about something that you have a whole lot to say about. And who knows, you might be the new number one because it changes with every stream. If it didn't change, I would have put a kibosh on it. I think that would have been no, because then you're going to get the inner core people get in so strong, building up that newer folks come in. Now that's not going to work for me, right? But when they change it right from the get go, it's like new stream, new game, you know. And I like that whole approach. So what do you guys think? It's nothing different than what I've been doing here on the channel always. I shout you guys out, did so from the very beginning. I read, I wasn't so good at it tonight because we had to discuss this, but I read your comments, which is what this bean counter is doing. I shout out super thanks because I'm grateful and you've gone that third distance. But don't ever forget for every single one of you that are watching tonight that didn't give me a shout out or a super thanks, you're my number one target always. You're the people that I'm more concerned reaching than this. For those who can afford to help keep the channel on the air, keep us going, I appreciate it. You guys rock. You know what I think about you. But I love every single damn one of you. And I can't wait to see you guys join me on the panel at Royce in the House. All right. So right now it's a little after 6. We're running about 4 minutes over. That's all right. So 6 o'clock, 6:04. Royce will be on in 26 minutes or 25. We'll call it an even 25, right? And hopefully, in the next 25 minutes, I can cool this place down and recharge my mics and join Royce up on the panel. Folks, thank you so much for joining in. Kimberly, take some
Screenshots, yeah.
yeah, of some of the comments. That'll be big and helpful to me. Get as many as you can to carry the stream on tomorrow.
Okay.
And we'll carry this conversation on and maybe even add a twist to it. But let's see what we're going on. All right. Oh, and I also wanted to bring this up. Everybody's making this big deal. It was brought up on my last stream. I wish I had brought this up because we get a smaller amount as we go. We've lost like 10 because they know it's the end of the stream. Oh, but for those of you who stayed. I've got a thing or two to say about this hullabaloo that everybody's making over Let It Be Naked. All right. I remember when that album came out. The articles talked about correction at the time. What's it? And you go, wait a minute, Michael Nolan's going to defend pitch correction? Yeah, sure. Auto tune, when used properly, is fine. I'm not, to use it in a live performance, that's no longer live. All right, that's what I'm against using it. I'm against using it with people can't sing to begin with. And you can obviously tell there's a feel to auto tune that you can hear as a musician, folks. I know when it's being used. All right. And everybody's making a big deal about this. I hate this album now. What a fake thing. See, Paul McCartney, and on and on and on. All right. All of this stuff was out before. It was cleaned up. All right. So they could get alternative versions on different takes and everything. And if you got your panties in a twist about it, then I think you're going to have your panties in a twist about a lot of Beatles songs because they adjusted John's voice all over the place using all kinds of technology available at the time. All right. Jesus. Uh, Across the Universe on Let It Be versus Across the Universe for the Wildlife Fund, the more acoustic version, with the chick singing. Yeah, that's one big auto pitch. So you're going to have to throw that one away. Can't listen to that anymore, right? And you want to talk about, you know, so you got to be careful with this. If they took a note, and I believe it was several of John's things that they had a problem, and one part of Paul on the take of Long Winding Road where they had a fiddle faddle with it and stuff. There to as a reparation to offer us a different view of it. Still makes the title "Let It Be Naked" the most horrible title to ever title a Beatle album, but it doesn't make it any less naked, all right? Because the whole approach was to clean up that album, more top and tail it, to make it more of like they were open about this. We want a version of Let It Be that we might have put out as an album proper rather than just as the mishmash that many people think that Phil Spector did with it. And I think he did. I'm not a big fan of Let It Be, the regular version. I like Let It Be Naked, slightly better. Now, Let It Be, the regular version, still one of their better albums. So when I say I'm not a fan, don't get me wrong. Any album that has Across the Universe, Get Back, Long Winding Road, Let It Be, and a host of other songs nearly as good as that can't be all bad. All right. But my advice to everybody is to settle down, settle down. Everybody knew about this to begin with. I don't know why. I think it's because Wings of Pegasus did a thing, and now it's back to everybody's consciousness. And he does a great job over there. But that's a non-starter. That's a non-starter. This is old information. Everybody knew this before. All right. Okay, so I'm Michael Noland. This has been the Tribal Forum. Why, it was all night. Okay? And I will see you fine folks in about 21 minutes. All right. I'll see you tomorrow night at 5 o'clock on my very next stream. Join me over at Voice of the House, folks. All right, folks. We'll see you later. Night.